to the two people that just joined. Hi there. Good evening. I hope your evening is going very well. Mine started off quite slowly, but you know what they say, slow movement is better than no movement. Welcome to another episode of Marketing After Hours with Mpho. If you're joining for the first time, my name is Mpho. I am a founder and an author. I founded Product Communications and wrote Brand Butter, a practical marketing guide that basically helps you how to spread your messaging far and wide, minus the fluff. If you haven't done yourself a copy, please do. I will attach a link in the comments. And I'd appreciate any feedback you guys might have about that. Please, please. If you didn't know, I do this every second Tuesday. This is basically a platform I created a couple weeks back, I think about a month back now, where we sit and chat after hours, use the name, about anything marketing, business, building something from the ground up of your own. And we get to sit here and chat about it and have conversations and share what we can, etc., etc. I hope it helps someone out there. And I know it's helping me in some way or another. And please figure out how. But I know it will. I know it is, and I hope it does. Well, without wasting any more time, I want to tell you a little bit about today's episode before we get started. It's a little different from the previous ones that I've done, actually, in a sense that usually I'm sitting here talking about things like content and consistency and your audience and building trust and how to go about posting and what to post and how often to post. But tonight we are, I don't want to use the word judging, but for lack of a better word, judging other people's marketing. So I've picked four campaigns that we probably all come across out there on social, you know, from last year basically, and we're gonna look at them together. I'm basically just gonna tell you what I think worked, what I think didn't, if there's anything like that, what I'm not crazy about, whether I think the campaign makes sense for the brand. Um, and I always like to bring it back to us, the growing businesses, the small and growing businesses, and what you can basically take from these big campaigns because they're quite big. Before we get into this, though, just let me know in the comments what's one brand or one company that, or whose rather, whose campaigns or whose marketing you always come across or always notice. Could be because it's hilarious or it's clever or it's annoying. We do get those annoying ads from time to time. Whatever the case may be, drop it down in the comments, let me know what it is. I'll have a look at that, then we can get into it. But without further ado, let's get started with campaign number one. And this one is quite big actually. Like I said, they're all big, but this one, yeah. So this one is from KFC. So KFC recently, and by recently I mean in 2025, last year, ran a campaign on a social campaign called Anything for the Sake, and Anything spelled AI, meeting for the taste. This campaign caught my attention. I saw it on Facebook first. because you know you have AI and you have KFC. What could possibly go wrong, right? So KFC created this fictional AI character called Kaya. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but yeah, if I remember. Who was basically obsessed with getting the taste of KFC. And they didn't just make one AI themed advert and call it a day. They created multiple, but I saw the one on Facebook. And they built the idea across, different touch points and created this interactive AI experience around it. So I just wanted to figure out um, let's see, something's burning in the oven. No, I don't have that option. See, when you're figuring things out, it gets very, very weird and complicated. But you know what? We learn. We learn. I wanted to see if I could share my screen so we can have a look at this video. But I'll share links rather. Yeah, that's smart. I'll share links to all the videos in the comments after the live session, and you can go have a look at them yourself. But yes, so right back to it. KC AI adverts, quite smart, quite creative. Um, but I actually wanted to ask, I wanted to find out from you guys when you get a chance to watch the videos. But if you came across this ad, what would you think? Would you think, genius, or would you think, Casey is doing too much? My signal, as always. Every time I have to go live. But yeah, have a look at it, and then you can reply to the comments and let me know what's what. So I'm gonna tell what I liked about it. Um, it's that they didn't just use AI because AI is trending, and believe me, AI is everywhere, right? But they actually created a character and a story around it. So for me, I think that's an important distinction because it's one thing to say we use AI because AI is trending, but it's another to say we're using AI because it helps us tell the story better. You know, I don't think if it went for using AI, there was going to be another creative way to tell the story. But I think AI and KC and how they tell the story is actually very very interesting. So I think KC understood the assignment there. However, here's a catch: is it actually making the campaign better, or is it just that it makes it more interesting? And that's the distinction between the two. So sometimes we as marketers get so excited about the thing we're using, AI in this case, that we tend to forget to ask or question if it helps communicate the message. And that's the question I'd ask. So one takeaway I want us as small influencers to take away from all of this is that I'm not saying use AI in your marketing. That's not the case. The lesson is find an idea that you want to share and make the execution serve the idea. So in this case, AI being, you know, the server in it all, and KC being single and good being the idea. So I don't think we need a budget yet KFC, even though it would be awesome to have. But it's just have the idea and then have something to execute the idea. And I think that's the takeaway that we should, you know, take away from the whole thing. So yeah. And then when it comes to the rating, for KFC, I think they deserve a solid 8 out of 10 for this. Mainly because the idea is memorable, it's funny. If you actually watch some of the videos, it's actually quite funny. And they committed to a collab between Nando's and Maybelline. Nando's being a chicken restaurant and Maybelline being a makeup brand, which is weird if you think of it at first sight, right? Like chicken and makeup. But hashtag hot mess. I think if you put two and two together, you kind of like get the idea of what it is. Um, but listen, you've got Maybelline as a makeup brand, and you've got Nando's that sells food, which potentially, destroys your carefully made up face. Let's put it like that. So I think the concept is pretty clever, because for me, I think the big one is the cultural fit and how it becomes culturally relevant. The reason being is because I saw one of the challenge videos where a mother and a daughter are basically having Nando's chicken, right? They're sitting at a restaurant having lunch, and they're playing a challenge where you have to answer a certain question, or you eat a Nando's, you bite into Nando's chicken with your makeup, right? And obviously, the whole point is to show that your makeup would not be smudged by the chicken. Mm. Does the collab actually make the brand stronger? Like, does Nando's and Maybelline being together make Nando's stronger and Maybelline stronger? Or is it just the cleverness behind the collab? Because I don't know if you see the campaign, would you immediately think, I need a Nando's chicken right now, or I need to buy myself makeup from Maybelline right now, or is it just hot meat that you think of every time you come across the campaign? Because for me, that was the case. It was hot meat, hot meat. Everywhere I came across it, it was hot meat. So, sure, the campaign can be memorable, but it can also not be quite effective. And, that's just my take on it. Um, but small business takeaway from it is that when it comes to collaboration, they're great. They work, you know, um, but don't collaborate with another business, especially if it kind of relates to what your business is about just because they have following or they have a following. Rather ask, does the audience overlap? Does the collab make sense? That's an important one. And can we create something that neither brand would have created on your own? So if you need to collaborate with somebody or a brand or another company, ask yourself, do I need to? Or can I execute this without the collab? And I think that's a big takeaway. But my personal rating for this will be a solid 8. Clever, it's on brand for Nando, definitely. I just think the collab itself is what makes it a little bit interesting and a little bit questionable. But hey, that's just me. Then we are going to get into campaign number 3, which is Checkers Hyper Hyper featuring Dan. So I don't know if you guys know who Dan is, but he's a creator. Very big, very interesting. Um, so what happened is Checkers basically gave Dan Mays the keys to a Checkers Hyper store, and they, and told him to create something. What is it? Oh, fine. So they gave him keys to a store and they said, listen, go do what you gotta do out there. And what I find interesting here is not that they said, here, have the keys to our store. We need you to say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 about chickens. Mm-mm. They gave him keys to a store and they told him, listen, go out there, go to our store and create. And create he did. They basically gave him creative freedom. So he got there and he did the most. I actually enjoyed watching Dan Mace's video. And I think for me that's a big deal because people can tell when especially in this huge influencer slash creator economy that we're in now, you generally can tell if you are creating something versus when you're like reading an advert or you reading a script or something. So this felt like content that Dan made could actually make. It was quite interesting, it was funny, relatable, definitely relatable. So, but a big question is when does influencer marketing actually work? And by that I mean hiring somebody with a big following is not automatically a marketing strategy. Sure, it puts you out there, but remember, visibility over being consistent and your messaging basically landing to the right people, on the right people's ears. And that's what it is. So if you give a creator a product and a script and certain talking points, potentially that's influencer marketing. But you've probably lost the thing that people followed that creator for in the first place, and which is the personality. So this brings me to my small to growing business lesson is that if you're a small business and you want to work with the creator, don't just ask how many followers they have or if they get 500,000 likes and comments, for example. Ask what is it that you can create with my brand that your audience would genuinely enjoy watching and eventually convert them? Because I feel like that's a much better question. But coming to my rating for this campaign, I give it a solid 9. Like I said, I legit enjoyed watching that video because for me, it was all things relatable. You guys will see when I drop the link to all of these videos in the comments later on. But I want us to move on to the final campaign that I actually wanted to talk about. And for this, I just want to say save the best for last because wow, Chicken Licken, wow. So food to the world. Chicken Licken's most recent, I think, most recent social campaign, which was music based. It used music, South African artists, social content, and the competition to build something much, much bigger than just chicken. Because honestly, if you look at Nando Chicken Licken, yes, it's chicken, but if you look at their campaign, it's very relatable, very cheeky, very humorous. I love Nando's and Chicken Licken marketing. But with this one was my favorite. The song is honestly a sing along. Once I learn the lyrics, it's gonna become a repeat song on my playlist because wow. But what I really liked about it is that the product is not, the hero of the story, so to say. And that might sound weird because you're advertising chicken, right? But Chicken Licken in this case is talking about, Mzansi, they're talking about music, culture, soul, bringing soul to the world. Hence the name of the campaign, Soul Food to the World. So they're bringing all of that. They're bringing identity and belonging and all of those things into the campaign. And for me, that is very, very, very powerful because this is where I think Chicken Licken was very, very strong. The authenticity was Mzansi and they were taking it out into the world and saying, hey, we know that the world doesn't have any Chicken Licken and we want to bring soul to the world. We want to bring belonging and identity and soul to the world. And that was very powerful for me. And they've built a brand that has a very recognizable personality, like I said, similarly to Nando's. You don't have to see their logo or a fried chicken every now and then on their ads to know what it is that you're watching or who it even is from. You already know they have a brand persona. Critique wise though, I just wanna like kind of ask, when does brand storytelling become so big that people kind of forget what you're selling? And I know it's kind of contradictory to what I was saying previously that people, a brand persona. For someone who's seeing it for the first time, or the second time, or the third time, before they actually get to identify that identity. So that's the danger. You can create something beautiful, something emotional, something touching, and extremely shareable. But if people finish watching it and they ask, sure, that was amazing, but who is that? That's the dangerous part. But I genuinely love this. And I think for me, this deserves a solid 9.5 out of 10. That's, I want to get into the small business lesson as well, which is when you are sitting down and thinking about your marketing strategy or what to post or what to put out there or your messaging even. You don't always have to talk about your product, especially once it builds a brand persona that's strong enough to be recognized without your product or without your logo. Your product should still have a reason for being in the story. And I think for me that's the biggest takeaway, not just from this chicken living ad, but from all ads that exist out there, all campaigns rather that exist out there to say that it's possible to tell your story without telling who the story is from. And I think that when you get to that point, when you build a brand persona, when you become a household name, then you've made it. I think for me, in my opinion. So, but this is, I think for me, the important part of the episode. Um, we've looked at a couple of campaigns, very, very different campaigns. AI, collaboration, influencer, creator marketing, cultural identity, and storytelling. But here's something we should notice. None of these worked simply because they were creative. You know, there's a couple of factors that played into this that made them so successful, which is having an idea, knowing who you are talking to before you even get started. Because if you don't know, then it's definitely going to land on the wrong ears. Make the platform work for you, and then give people a reason to participate or to feel something or to share it or, you know, make them stop and think and feel and engage with it. And I think for me, that's those four are like the biggest thing when it comes to marketing campaigns. And then I want to now get into our relative for the night, which is when you are about to start posting, or you sit down and you start thinking about your strategy when it comes to your marketing or what to post. The question should always be, what would make customers or potential clients stop scrolling? Because believe you me, there's a whole lot happening in the digital world. If you are able to make people stop scrolling on whatever it is that is going on, that is very powerful. And with that said, that is a wrap on episode 4 of Marketing After Hours. Thank you very much to everybody who's joined this session. Tonight wasn't really about, telling me which campaign was good or bad. It was just simply learning to look at marketing differently because ever since I've been in the industry and, through experience and theory, I've learned that there's not just a one size fits all kind of strategy when it comes to marketing. So we learn to look at marketing differently. If one strategy doesn't work, you move on to the next one. You keep trying until you find that one that actually fits you. Because you come across campaigns on a daily and you don't just think, hmm, that's cool. Well, at least for me. But you also ask questions like, why did it work? Who was it for? What actually was the idea? And you know, why are people sharing it? Is it that relatable? Is it that interesting? Is it that funny? Is it that emotional? Does it make people cry? Does it make people laugh? Does it bring people together? You know, in terms of relatability, cultural fit, etc., identity, belonging. What is it that's so special about this campaign that it became so big and so successful? So that's me, literally on a daily basis when it comes to marketing. And I think as small and growing businesses, that's how you should start thinking too, like some Africa. But thank you again for hanging out with me tonight. I hope that you guys are nice and cool, not feeling too hot, had your dinners and are preparing for bed or preparing for the next day or whatever. But I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. If you enjoyed this, please share it with a business owner that who needs to start thinking a little differently about their marketing. And, hopefully it helps someone out there. But from me and bread butter and butter teeth, thank you for joining me and good night.